Okay, thank you so much for joining me today, Dana. I'm super excited. I want to chat a little bit today about what you are going to be presenting for Career Elevation for the continuing education next week on the 19th. So tell me 5 to 10 minutes of what we're going to be learning about next week.
Of course. Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate the opportunity to kind of just let everybody know what we're going to talk about. And I appreciate your sponsorship. Um, Next week, we're going to be talking about coming out of network, the dreaded question, the why, when, and the how. And I want to let offices know there needs to be structure for this. Some offices want to just do this, like the doctor gets mad and says, I'm done, get out of network. And that's not really very good. We need an opportunity to have the narrative with our patients and control that narrative so it looks good for us and we can retain that patient, because that's the goal. We want to be done with the write-offs, but we also want to retain those patients because they're good patients. So we're going to talk about how do we know if we should terminate with our PPO or not, because it's not for everybody. You can still be a mixture of PPO and fee for service and still be profitable. You just have to play by the rules. Depends on where the office is located. It depends on the amount of write-offs. There's a lot of factors that go into that. So I'm going to talk about that. Why should they leave the insurance network? What is the reason? You want to have a good reason and a good why, because the team needs to know and the team needs to be on board. And which ones do you decide to drop? That's the biggest question of all is who do I drop and how do I do it? And we're going to go step by step in how do we get rid of these PPOs? How do we come out of network, keep our profitability up, and retain our great patients?
Perfect. Thank you. So you had mentioned PPO. Do you help with getting out of network with other kinds of insurance as well, or just mainly PPO?
Mainly PPO, but an HMO is the same as a PPO as far as getting out of the network. There's certain structure you need in your practice. There's certain systems you need to have in place. And then you systematically go about coming out of that network and letting your patients know. And once you're done, then it's doctors look back and say, I should have done this years ago. So it's a process. I'm not going to lie. It can take, 6 to 8 months is what I recommend, because you want to have a conversation with all of those patients and you have to track that and you want to develop that narrative. That's one of the things that I love doing is I work with offices to create that custom verbiage for them, because what an office in New York tells their patients may be totally different than what an office in rural Iowa will tell their patients. So it's a lot of customized work, but it's based on the demographic of the practice and their patient base. So that's really important to keep the patient in mind, because we want to retain that patient.
Perfect. And I love that you are making sure that this is customized per location, because there are so many people that I think just feel as though we can just put offices into a box, and nobody is in a box. I can tell you that for sure. People ask me as a recruiter all the time, well, how much do these people make in my area? I'm like, well, I got to do a little bit of research, because your area, is completely different than these other areas. So I'm glad that you are customizing it per office.
Absolutely. Everything I do, I customize for an office because they're all different. If I want to go, an experience, if I go to a doctor's office, if I have a problem with my foot, I'm not going to go to a general doctor. I want someone who specializes in feet. And it's kind of the same thing with coaching and with coming out of network, especially. You want someone who's done it, but you also want someone who understands the needs of your practice. And I have not run across any practices as of yet that it would be the same template over and over. It's always, we've got to tweak this and we got to get the team involved and we've got to make this work for them to sound right, like it's coming from them. That's the biggest thing.
Perfect. Okay. What would you say is one of the most common reasons why people want to get out of working with insurance companies?
write-offs. They're
Yeah.
tired of losing the money. It's not so much that the insurance is dictating the treatment, which they are. If you're a PPO provider, you do not work for yourself. You work for the insurance. They pay you, so you work for them. But the write-offs, that's where doctors see that and it's like, how come I can't charge my patient my fee? Why does the insurance feel they have the right to tell me that? And it's in the contract. I mean, you gave them that right when you signed the contract with them, and that's what they don't understand. So I would say that's the biggest reason, is they're tired of the write-offs and they're tired of the dictation of treatment.
Wonderful. Awesome. Well, I don't want to give away all of the good nuggets, but is there anything else that you want to share so that we can kind of present this to people who may be interested to watch next week?
I would say that bring a pad and paper, because it's going to be a lot of information. We talked, there will be a link to a handout that they can download that will help kind of sort all this out after our presentation. But there's a lot of information and a lot of little tidbits for them, and it's going to be a don't miss. Definitely, if you're thinking about coming out of network, it's worth the time to get the information.
Okay, perfect. I appreciate your time today. I'm very excited to learn about this next week, even though I don't work at a practice anymore. I hear about this all the time, and any little bit of knowledge that I can provide to offices, or even just a handout, I would be happy to do. So excited for next week. Thank you so much for being able to do this for us.
You're welcome. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.